Yo, what's going on, everyone? My name is Matt Jarbo, otherwise known as Mundane Matt, and today is Friday, the 16th of February, 2016. We are over halfway through the month of February, and I don't know about you, but I'm okay with it coming to an end. Simply because, yeah, I'm just ready, man. I want warm weather. I live in the goddamn Northwest. It's fucking cold here. What up, guys? How's it going? So, I couldn't think of a better title for the JJ thing. I'm not gonna label the video that, but I thought it was like pretty funny. Yeah, Robert Ross, I agree. Black Panther was amazing. Yeah, I wasn't gonna do Rustl'd tonight. I didn't post in the last like 2 days, so I'm just kind of like, my channel needs a bit of love, right? Because if you don't post, YouTube is kind of like, clearly you don't care about it, so they want to de-rank you. But ultimately, whatever, man, it's fine. I just needed a bit of a break. Now I'm back. Today's been a fun day on Twitter, regardless of the fact people are losing their fucking minds over suggesting that hey, it might be a solid idea if if when you're online, if you're talking about certain subjects, maybe use some tact, some wit, in order to espouse your idea in the conversation, instead of just going off the fucking handle like a goddamn lunatic, and then wondering, why people say, hey, maybe bad shit happens because shit like this happens. So there's that. Am I still waiting for that world-class bullshitters video? Yeah, I'm totally afraid of what a channel with 15,000 subscribers is going to do to me. That may sound condescending as fuck, but I don't care. They're willfully taking what I've said out of context, and they're trying to paint me as a person who's been paid by Disney to promote Star Wars. If I'm a person who's being paid by Disney to promote Star Wars, am I going to go off on J.J. Abrams, as I will later on in this broadcast? The answer to that is simply no. No, I would not. And it's fucking stupid if you think so. So World-Class Bullshitters is just another one of those YouTube channels. The best way to describe it is, intellectual dishonesty, bottom-feeding bullshit, and no one I'm going to pay attention to. So I tried watching their videos, and it's like, okay, cool. That's about it. I just don't care. So, hey, Jen, thanks you very much. Hitting 160,000 subs is pretty cool. I hit that and 75 million total views in about the span of 24 hours. 2 milestones right away. I was like, that's fucking awesome. So, and I wouldn't be here without you, be here without you guys anyway. So, so there's a school walkout on April 20th to protest school shootings. Is it a protest to protest school shootings, or is it a walkout because it's 4/20? Oh shit. No, we have 1 more year to go till the 20th anniversary of Columbine. Or was it 1998? When did Columbine happen? Columbine was 1999. So I could sit there and say, if they want to walk out on that day, that would make some sense. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, good for them if they want to. Like, really, good for them if they want to do it. That's fine if they want to. I think that's good. If they want to go out there and protest school shootings. The thing is, though, what's going to stop school shootings is ultimately going to boil down to changing the conversation on mental health, as well as changing the conversation about guns. Not in the way of saying, like, we need fewer guns. Look, there are 323 million Americans, and there's like 300 plus million guns. Guns aren't going to go away, right? Guns are part of who we are as a country. Gun culture is a thing. Never going to end. And I'm a person who actually very much supports the Second Amendment. I'm a 2A supporter. So there's that. But I also feel like we need to do more in terms of teaching people about guns and what to expect from them, and how to react around them, and so on and so forth. Because, hey, school shootings should never happen, period. But how many people are killed every year from accidental shootings, right? How many times a year does that happen because someone left their gun out? And the thing is, oftentimes when you hear these stories, it's members of the NRA, because I don't think the National Rifle Association does a lot to educate people about proper gun safety. I think they just like to lobby in order to, they contribute a lot of fucking money every single goddamn year. Somewhere in the range of, like, they make $50 billion a year or something. So they have a lot of power, at least in terms of everything involving that. And so it's just insane. It's just insane. I'm totally for putting money into education. I am totally into, doing everything like that and trying to get people the proper information they need to combat this epidemic, because I do think that's what it's called. But the problem with it is that you have both sides that collectively don't want to ever engage in the right discussion. They want to go, the left is like, we need to get rid of guns before the bodies are even cold. And then the rights are like, Second Amendment forever before the bodies are even cold. And then you get your politicians and you get your lobbyists and you get your pundits and you get all of these people out there talking about it nonstop. But it's never the proper conversation of how do we solve this problem today. It's always your side's the problem. Your side doesn't have the solution. Our side is right. Blah, blah, blah. We need to come to terms with the fact that we're never going to get rid of guns in this country. And unless you plan on outright, like, making bullets completely hard to get, like outlawing bullets or something along those lines, it's going to be difficult to keep that from happening. Right? Stronger background checks. Maybe have a requirement for some kind of mental health screen before being able to get the guns. I know that's going to be looked at as a violation of some people's personal rights, which again, I'm not suggesting it. It's merely an idea that I'm putting out there into the ether. Maybe a hard one to get done, but there are ways ultimately, I think, to come together on it, but it's not going to be by whoever's in charge right now. It's just not. We're coming up on 19 years since Columbine. School shootings have become far more frequent, far more violent. Nothing gets done. Nothing changes. Why is that? Right? Because ultimately, and this is the truth, this is the fucking truth. You've got an industry, if you will, that profits off of fear. And there's multiple industries that do that. But in the case of gun manufacturers, they fucking profit off of fear. There was no better gun salesman over the course of 8 years than Barack Obama, because they were able to use Obama coming for your guns as an argument, constantly able to use that as an argument, as a way to push people to go and buy guns. And they did. Oh, Lordy, did they. But then when Trump came into power a year ago, gun sales dropped off, right? They dropped off. There's reports of that too. You can look it up. Reports of the gun sales, dropping off. And they're like, whoa, what's going on? Because there wasn't that fear of a figurehead in office that was going to take them away. So as shitty as this sounds, when it comes to this debate over these issues, these tragic, horrific issues, many people out there are able to spin it as, again, fear of someone coming to take something away from you, of the government coming to take something away from you because of what somebody else did, and they use it as a way to profit. And it's sad. It's pretty shitty, if you ask me. So, but again, I am totally on board with fixing the problem. The key, my honest opinion, is to, and this is my opinion for pretty much anything, get the money out of fucking politics. You get rid of the lobbyists, right? Or put a cap on how much they can spend, or whatever the hell it is, but more or less get rid of them. I think that'd be the best bet. Get rid of them, and then that would solve a lot of problems. So, okay, or Ace Frey, your idea there actually is decent. He says, alternatively, what would increase gun safety dramatically would be if gun owners needed to be able to prove they're members of gun clubs. I'm not against that either, actually. I'm really not. That's a solid suggestion. That's a good idea. Add that to the list of good ideas. That's what we need more of, is the idea of how do we not take these things away? Because that won't work. But how do we alter the situation where we find ourselves in so then people are given the proper education, the proper training, so that they are in fact able to have a better idea? Now that's coming more or less from the idea of stopping your at-home accidental shooting. Someone like this Nicholas Cruz motherfucker, he was hell-bent on doing this. You know what I mean? So it's like, that's a totally different beast. And how do you identify them? Well, we're not Minority Report. We don't have pre-crime division. We're not able to figure this shit out. We don't have time travel, right? We have none of that stuff. So how do you predict it? How do you stop it? And that's mental health. And also a willingness to follow through. The FBI dropped the ball flat out. So no, Ulysses, if they got rid of the lobbyists, they would just find another way, right? Like you would have 501c4s, which I feel personally are horrible, because those are a way for money to essentially kind of disappear. So, yeah, the FBI fucked up on the Nicholas Cruz thing. I don't think any rational person out there would agree or disagree with that statement, whatever political side of the coin you're on. I don't know if they knew he was going to do it, because you never know if someone's going to do it. That's the thing. You can't sit there and say, like, someone has sit there and said, like, they've told me, I'm going to kill you, right? So a death threat. I get death threats quite frequently. So someone says, I'm going to kill you. Do I really think they're going to do it? I don't know. I legitimately don't know. But I also cannot sit there and act upon that as being like, you know, I'm going to have them arrested for thinking a certain way. Right. So it's kind of like, that doesn't make sense. Like, you can't sit there and get somebody for thought crime. You know, I do think that there needs to be a bit more tact in how we do things. That would help. But at the same time, who knows? So you thought the FBI was going to improve under Trump? Well, they'll find a way to blame it on Obama, because that's pretty much what Trump does. Mental health will never be fixed because the prison system benefits too much from how it currently is. Yeah. Yeah. We need to also get money out of freaking prisons too. Private prisons need to not happen. If you are a prisoner of the state, then you need to be a prisoner of a state-run operation. Private prisons, you know, when you find out that there's judges that get kickbacks, financial kickbacks from this, you're just like, no. If they get money for sending people to jail, they should be in jail. And those prisons should be shut down or should be taken over by the state and then run. I'm not saying, and here's the thing, the state stuff is not going to be probably much better, right? That's the sad thing, is like, you know, having a proper run correction system is one thing, but it's really just like, you got to keep the money out of these things. Privatization of those particular facilities, I don't think work. And I'm all for the private market. Like, I'm all for that shit, but I think in certain things involving, like, I wouldn't want a privatized police force, right? I wouldn't want a privatized fire department or privatized, I mean, that's a hard one because it is privatized. And it's like, that ends up impacting people in a way that they're not able to afford, you know? So like in some states, like a CAT scan will cost you $5,000. In other states, a CAT scan will cost you, you know, $7,000. Why is there a difference? You know, like, how does it all break down? And that becomes a problem. So I'm just saying, there's ways we could probably do things a little bit better, and there's ways we could definitely improve, and there's ways we could probably get to a place we all need to be. But unfortunately, right now, I don't think people want it. I think because creating that division, having that division, is going to make it essentially, it's too goddamn profitable. There's profitability in division. There's profitability in this sort of thing, right? So if you can find a way to make money by keeping people separated because of outrage culture or cliques or fear or whatever, then there's literally no reason to try to at all attempt to fix things, right? I mean, like, no, seriously, look at the suggestion I made earlier. If you are a commentator on the internet, if you have an audience, you have a platform, maybe tact could be useful in certain situations, right? Because we know about this. We know Edgar Welch stormed Comet Ping Pong with a rifle, shot at the place a little bit, like a couple rounds, I think. looking for an underage child sex dungeon that didn't exist. And he cited InfoWars as a specific reason why he went and did this. And InfoWars, in just the first few months of 2017, had to come out. Alex Jones had to come out twice and apologize for the comments that he made, because they were not truthful. But he still had no problem making all the other comments he's made that are not truthful. And they did, in fact, influence somebody to go and act. So while I'm not saying Alex Jones should be removed from the airways or deplatformed, I'm saying, like, he should use more tact. Even if he wants to espouse what he wants to espouse, fine. Use better ways to do it. But by suggesting that, people are trying to come to me today and saying, oh, you're just saying that, like, you know, video games cause violence, as if art forms like movies, video games, books, music, that are a narrative, that are a work of fiction, that are created for that purpose of telling a story or eliciting an emotional response or a feeling, is the same as a daily dose of news from a person who's meant to be a trusted source for these particular stories, thoughts, and opinions. There's a clear difference there. And the fact that people are trying to make that whataboutism argument was really infuriating to me, because it's so intellectually dishonest that it just makes me really question, like, the fuck is wrong with you? It really does. It's insane how bad some things get with this shit. So anyway, lot of bullshit with that. Not trying to go on a fucking soapbox here. So the let's see. Chelsea here says the alt-right has become so impotent. Their greatest claim to fame was nearly getting 1,000 virgins to spam Enoch in a stream today. They will never have institutional power. They'll never have institutional power. They never will. I don't believe that they will at all. Their ideas are shit. Their leaders are shit, and they don't do anything other than, you know, fucking spurg out on live streams and everything else. But that in and of itself will still grant them I guess you could say, like, a modicum of power. They'll be able to use that to bolster a base, and that base, who knows what they'll do with it if they're able to. But they'll bolster it to the point of where it sustains them. I honestly feel like a lot of the alt-right are simply there for money. That the alt-right are there for a way to find financial gain through this division that is sustainable, because they know that ultimately they'll never get the foothold they need in order to find themselves in any position of power. But I mean, that's pretty much like where it's fucking at right now. So so video games don't cause violence, lag does. You goddamn right. You goddamn right. I will break a window when there's lag in my game of PUBG and shit. Oh, I missed some super chats. Okay, let me take a quick look here, because I feel bad for missing the super chats. But yeah, I mean, ultimately, it's I think there's ways we can get there. But when you have people that get off on, you know, internet blood sports, and I'm not talking about the people who are putting them on, but I'm saying just in general, people who get off on that kind of shit, they're not interested in having any kind of conversation. They're not interested in any kind of change. They're just interested in the sport and the combat of it. And I guess that's all well and good and everything. But what you have to realize is, at the end of the day, it doesn't serve a purpose. You're not better off at the end of the day. Your future is not looking any brighter at the end of the day, but you feel better in that moment. And ultimately, that's all that matters to some people. All right, let's see. The Nuggets, $2 super chat, says here, for the baby. Thank you, sir. Baby's doing good. She turns 11 weeks. In 2 days, 11 weeks old. She's getting so big. She's cooing a lot more. I'll just look at her now and she smiles. It's fantastic. Ace Frey, $2 here, saying, today, you wish to wash my Irish wish. God damn it, Ace Frey. Again with that. Today you wish to wash my Irish. Fuck you, yes. He got me with this the other night too. I spent like a couple minutes trying to say it. I'm just gonna say it. Today you will Today you will wish to wash my Irish wristwatch. And I ain't saying it faster than that. You can straight up eat a dick. But I appreciate super chat, sir. Thank you. Jack Barnhart here, $5 here, saying, here's a $5 for taking for taking that Twitter flag like a boss. Tact is vital in this dying mentality. Good score. You did good. Sorry. Holy shit. Like, oh my God, trying to talk. Fucking start coughing up a goddamn sword. Oh, man. No, I don't misunderstand blood sports. I get it. I understand it. Like I said before, if you engage and you don't get paid, then you are doing it wrong. So, let's see. Jen says here, I was just telling Ranting Monkey and Satsu I would almost rather see some neutral parties do their own live stream chats. The Nerds versus the Nerds High School War of 2018 is getting so cringy. Oh, it's super cringy. It is super cringy. It is. Oh my God, it is. I ended up going into one today. I saw someone tweet it out. It was a Joy Sparkle BS thing. And I was like, oh, she's back. What is she up to? Because I haven't seen her like in months. She blocked me on Twitter. And I just like stopped caring about Joy. Like generally, if you're out of my line of sight, like I just don't care. And so I go in there and like within like 2 seconds, like literally like 2 minutes, she starts talking about me and Mr. Repsion and Nick Monroe when we were at Penny Arcade Expo together back in Labor Day weekend. We went and got lunch and we decided to troll Joy a little bit on Twitter. So we took a picture and it was just like something like, you know, just as a way to troll her. Because that was like the only time we hung out all day. And she ended up getting really mad because she said that and then I wrote in the chat, troll, just that was it. Holy shit. It sent everyone in that room off for a solid 5 minutes. I wish I would have been fucking discussed. I wish I would have been recording it. It was the funniest goddamn thing. I have never triggered people that much by a simple fucking like 12 character fucking post, right? That was it. Just troll. That was it. And it 0 to 60, man. That was funny. I shouldn't engage in that shit but whatever. But she was calling me a piece of shit and whatever. I was like, all right, I'll fuck with her a little bit. So, okay, Connor, you talked about, he says here, check the debate channel on the Discord to get 2 ideas. Oh, hey, I have a debate channel. Holy shit. If you guys want to join in the Discord, it's a good idea. You can come on in. So Connor here says, when it comes to removing guns, there are 2 ways. 1, the government can take them with judicial warrant or earned with evidence that folks are not safe to have it, which they already kind of do in some states. In California, for especially, they will come for, if you have like a felony or whatever, you are not allowed to own a gun, and they will look through the registry and they will go and they will take your guns. I believe I could be wrong in the exact how, but I watched them do it on TV. Or number 2, one could send their weapon to the police and get paid, no questions asked, who you are and if the gun is illegal anyway. Well, you're talking like a buyback program. Well, Australia did this in the 90s after a mass shooting, and they haven't had one since, so that's an idea. It's an idea. But what you're talking about here is a country with almost a 1-to-1 ratio for gun to person, right? So the people who have their guns are not going to sell back their guns because a legal gun owner is getting rid of their gun is not going to protect them from an illegal gun, an illegal gun owner. That is actually a very valid argument though. It's like, if everyone gets rid of their guns legally, then the people who have them illegally are going to have them. And then everyone's not going to have a fucking gun. So it's not going to work. It's just not going to work. So I just look at that as I get your point and that's a good idea, but it's just ultimately not going to fly. So there's definitely that. Where are we at here? Fuck. Okay. What's going to stop school shootings? Teachers having guns. Israel teachers have guns. Teachers having guns. I don't necessarily like the idea, but at the same time, it's not a horrible one. Maybe not guns, but like tasers, right? Like actual, you can pull it out and pop off a shot, down a kid. That or we need more police on school campuses. Like that or that, put up fucking metal detectors in every school. Put up that kind of shit, right? So, it might get so bad where they might take the Department of Homeland Security and put it into fucking schools. Imagine a TSA situation inside a school. Every school in America now has one entrance you go in, you go out of, and at every single entrance, or every single entry point, there is an X-ray machine, there is a backscatter machine, and they pat you down for weapons and shit. You have armed patrol on campus. It's like turning America into a fucking war zone. And the thing is, the body count is almost high enough to justify it in some cases. I don't think it's going to happen, but, you know, the God Emperor, not as many as I want to play. He asked if I've been playing video games since having the kid. I've been working on Kingdom Come Deliverance. I've been playing that. That's actually a lot of fun. Give vets the jobs of security. There you go. MLC Gamer. That is a very good point. Give the security guard positions to vets. All right. I like that. Good idea. Who would win, an AR-15 or one Tasty boy? The thing is, though, if everyone's in a room or something, it gives them something. But like giving teachers guns is not going to work. Now, the comment there about Israel, everyone has to join the military in Israel, which means that everyone there has had proper gun control or gun lessons, gun training. So the idea there ultimately would be these people know how to handle a firearm. So there's that. Do you really think like our teachers? And trust me when I say this, a couple years ago when I lived in Los Angeles, I was working for the LA Unified School District. And my job was to train teachers how to use MacBooks, fucking laptops, and not even like how to do everything. Literally to just set up an iCloud account. That was my job. I went to school in South Central, in Compton, in Watts, and I was teaching these teachers how to do this. And you'd be amazed at how many of them could not functionally work a goddamn laptop and figure out with picture instructions, step-by-step picture instructions, how to set up a goddamn iCloud. Do you really think that if they can't set up a fucking iCloud account, I'm going to want them locked and loaded and strapped walking the fucking schools? I think it's more people going to die. So, you know, should gun training be a required part of the public education system? Yeah, right? Like, yeah. And by the way, that was a really easy job. It just was like, it was really easy. But like the people would complain. These are like free laptops they're getting. And they're complaining because they weren't iPads. Go fucking figure. So Matt teaches Mac. I know. I taught that shit. And I'm like, this is for $12 an hour. You know what I mean? Like they're sending me down to these schools. Or like when I went to the school at Watts, there were metal detectors. I had to get patted down. They searched my bag going in to Watts. Everything was like monochromatic gray and blue, and it looked just like a prison, right? This was a high school in Watts. It was a fucking prison. So, you know, yeah, it's pretty bad down there. Just give them AK-47s. Yeah, do that shit. Okay. Do I think regressives are going to cry racism when Infinity War does an order of magnitude more sales than Black Panther because it's a goddamn Infinity War? No, I don't think so. Here's the thing though, is like in my review of Black Panther, I said Black Panther came out at the wrong time. Black Panther should have come out immediately following Captain America Civil War, pushing it to February 2018. They only did it for Black History Month. I'm not knocking it. It's a good time to release it. In fact, it's the best time to release it. It's looking at a $200 million opening weekend, and it's a good fucking movie. But the movie itself in the context of the greater MCU needed to come the fuck out right after Civil War. And then lead into Avengers Infinity War with Thor. So what I would have done is I would have pushed Doctor Strange back to, you know, February 2017 or something, and had Black Panther come out in November of 20 or, you know, fuck it, have Black Panther come out in fucking February 2017, right? I would have had that shit already fucking out. So any tips to help one improve public speaking skills? Here's the thing, Brett, the anxiety part of it never really goes away. If I'm going to go speak on like a panel or something or whatever, I do get nervous, but once I'm out there and I'm talking, it's fine. Like this for me is not not hard because I'm just talking into a camera in my room. I'm by myself. You know, I could not be wearing pants right now and you'd have no way of knowing. So that kind of helps out with the anxiety. My junk could be flopping about. It's not, but the idea there is that it could. But really the idea for overcoming anxiety is simply to just do it. You know, were you scared the first time you had sex? How'd you get past it? You had sex. The next time, not so bad, not so nervous, right? You probably still came fast, but still not so bad. And it just gets better the more and more you do it. Practice makes perfect, buddy. So, what is about JJ cucking himself? We'll get to that. I probably should get to that. I am wearing pants, by the way. Well, I'm wearing shorts, but there's that. What's the reason Black Panther has this toxic black supremacist reaction and media nonsense, but Blade didn't? Bro Cave, we're in an entirely different world now than we were 20 years ago when Blade came out. When Blade came out, everyone was like, oh, dude, fucking vampire hunter movie. Hell yeah. Wesley Snipes. Hell yeah. No one said a word about it being the first black superhero movie. Even though at the time, Meteor Man had come out, Steel had come out, fucking, you know, beforehand. So there were other black-led superhero movies. They just weren't any good. Blade broke the mold for the 90s and went on to have 2 more movies. Had the full Blade trilogy, concluding in December 2004. But, you know, you go and you read these articles now. The people that are writing these articles now, they don't ever engage in the shit that they talk about, right? There are people that are trying to say Wakanda is real. Like, vibranium doesn't exist. It's made up. It's fiction. But, you know, you just, the thing is, I think ultimately what it boils down to is the people that are making these claims, they want something to hold on to. And part of me really does get that, right? I do understand that mentality, but at the same time, it's not necessarily going to be the best thing, right? It's not going to be the best thing. So, you think that Black Panther is going to be, it was a good mid-tier MCU film, but will ultimately be forgettable because it's got such a thin links to the rest of the MCU. The fact that it's the lead-in film to Infinity War and there's like one reference to it is kind of like, yeah, that was weak sauce. I was pretty upset at that. And even the end credits shot, I was like, really? Nothing tying in, like, I don't know if they're just trying to lower our expectations going in or what. So, oh, don't forget the spun-off Blade TV series. We don't want to talk about the spin-off Blade TV series on Spike TV. I have not watched Devilman Crybaby on Netflix yet. So I have not. But I do need to watch it. Obviously. So. Okay. Where the fuck am I at? All right, let me bring up. I should probably get into the stories because for those of you who don't know, who aren't frequent to my channel, what I like to do is I like to pre-record my content live. If you've watched any of the recent videos, you know I like to do all this shit live, right? Very much like Bill O'Reilly. Fuck it, we'll do it live. So I go through and I read the articles and I treat it like a regular video, and then we discuss it afterward, so on and so forth. Usually we do between 4 and 5. Because I haven't posted in a couple days, we're gonna do 5. So I got a lot going on, and we're gonna start off tonight not with the JJ thing. I'm not. Come on, if those of you came in for the cuck thing, right? You're gonna get your cucking. It's gonna happen. But first, we're gonna talk about some other stuff, just because I want to keep you guys in suspense. Think of me like a horrible news person. So. Yeah, Black Panther is a good movie, unlike Ghostbusters 2016. That's right. That's right. So, Black Panther is doing the same thing that Ghostbusters 2016 did. It's not, though. It's not. It's not at all. Like, this is the thing. This is the big disconnect. And I honestly, like, I get frustrated with this. And it's no one's fault individually. It's a collective mindset where it's like, if you dislike Black Panther, that makes you a racist, right? That's like the idea, because that's what gets espoused. But it's not the movie. The movie did nothing. The movie, Black Panther, the filmmakers, they didn't really do anything. They commented on like the group, the Facebook troll group, and just said like it's a waste of time, and that's about it. But they didn't go. This isn't Ghostbusters 2016 where the studio head went out there and was talking about it. The director was going on multiple interviews, mocking the people, deriding the film. The cast was doing the same thing, working in congruence with the bloggers that were doing it. There was a totally different thing when it came to Ghostbusters 2016. That is a case study in how you fuck up a movie, right? That is a case study. And I've honest to God thought about this, of going back through all of the controversy of Ghostbusters and going through point for point for point, from the Sony email leaks all the way to the release of the film, and finding and digging up all of that info and putting together like an hour-long documentary just about the fall of Ghostbusters 2016 and showcasing everything that happened as a result. Because it is not just one thing. It is not just like one comment here sort of thing. This was an outright, like there was a defense of this movie that I've never seen before. They thought it would work. They thought that it would get women riled up to come see the movie. They thought all of these things by attacking the haters, that this would get them in there. And the thing is, this is what people want. People wanted to see another Ghostbusters movie, but they didn't want to see this Ghostbusters movie. And that is apparent in the fact that the audience score was shit, even though reviewers, they fucking sucked its dick until it filled their bellies with their jizz, and then even some, and nobody went there. When I went to a 7 p.m. preview screening of the movie, there were like 30 people in the auditorium, right? And that was like that thing, like there was barely any sold out shows for that movie at all. So, let it go. Probably should let it go, but I'm just saying there was a lot there. Would Ghostbusters 2016 not have been as savage if the cast and crew had not acted the way they did? Truth be told, I don't know. It would have been less than what it was. It would have been way less than what it ended up being. If they would have actually sat down and done it, if they would have done it and left the movie as is, I don't think it still would have been a shit movie. There's no way to fix that, right? But it wouldn't have had left such a sour taste. In fact, that would actually be something I would like to have seen, at some point. I would have liked to have not ever had that to go in as cold as possible, but it didn't happen at all. So, let's see. Chelsea says here, am I racist for noticing that all the people dumb enough not to stay for the opening credits last night were black? Are you talking the end credits? People got up to leave. At the theater I was at for Black Panther, they legitimately told you before the movie started, because we saw it in IMAX, they said before the movie started, don't leave. Don't leave during the end credits. It said this to you in the theater, and yet people still got up and left. And then my dad was like, man, there's lots of people that are waiting around for the end of the movie. I'm all like, yeah, because it's a Marvel movie. There's always an end credit stinger. So, Ghostbusters 2 is still better. Anyway, so yeah. Ghostbusters 2 is still better. I agree. My favorite line about everything involving Ghostbusters 2016 is that it by default made Ghostbusters 2 a better movie, which it absolutely did. Oh, by the way, speaking of Black Panther, if you guys can, got my Black Panther shirt on. So, at least the director of Black Panther is no Paul Feig. Yep. Yeah, no, I should make that. If I do that, I would probably reach out to the Midnight's Edge guys to see what they're up to. See if they'd help me put it together, just for all like the research and shit. So Hayden White, their review of Ghostbusters was really good. I did watch that whole hour-long video. The Plunkett reviews, whatever. I saw that. That was good. Yeah, I'm not a huge Red Letter Media fan, but that was actually pretty decent. So, Ali RX Ghostbusters didn't even hold up now. So, there's that. Okay, here's the thing. The Ben C, the actors did bring up a bit of the identity politics stuff, but it was never in a way of saying like, white people don't see this, right? It was never in that way. Like, them talking about that is generally considered fine. Like, no one's going to really, say it's like, oh, it's a black superhero movie. It's a black country. It's a black tradition. Lots of color went into it, lots of, history, and they created a history. The world of Wakanda was very fleshed out, and you can see why they're saying what they're saying. But it wasn't sitting there and saying, if you don't like this movie, you're a racist, right? Which is what we got out of Ghostbusters, which is saying, if you didn't like this movie, you're a sexist. So there are differences there. So the two they're not the same. I did not see Sargon's review of Black Panther. I am not a fan of Leslie Jones. What's wrong with my face? This is just me, how I look, man. So, yeah, I'm sorry. But here's the thing. The next time you ejaculate, I want you to think of this. Just me, looking you dead in the eye as you come. There you go. Good luck ever getting a boner again. Pew, 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 pew. I got sent a pizza pocket in the mail. Who the fuck sent me a pizza pocket? I have no idea. All right, let's jump into it here because been on for the 45 minutes or 40 minutes and get ourselves going. So, okay. All right, where the fuck is that? Where the fuck is that goddamn button at? Cool. Oh, shit. Hold on here. There we go. Let me just get the... There we go. That keeps getting moved the fuck around, man. All right. So, for those of you who don't know, Snaps for Traps is kind of the meme on the show. Again, if you want to have your super chats featured in a video, now's the time to do it. Haha, shilling. Anyway. One of the biggest and probably worst decisions that Disney's ever made regarding Star Wars, and I'm not referring to Rian Johnson writing and directing The Last Jedi, was giving the franchise over to EA, right? Or EA basically purchasing the rights to the franchise to make games on it. And, in 2015, we got Battlefront, which, the game wasn't great, but I still really liked it. 2017, we got Battlefront 2, nothing in between there. Nothing in between there. There was Star Wars 1313, a canceled project. There was the Visceral Star Wars game that was being headed up by Amy Hennig. That's been effectively moved to another company now. Amy Hennig has left the project. And everyone's kind of wondering what the hell's going on. What is EA up to? Well, they screwed up really bad with Battlefront. They understood this. They went back. They reformatted everything for Battlefront 2. And from a technical standpoint, they did a much better job. I love Battlefront 2, even with the crappy loot crate system. But a lot of people weren't really happy with the loot crate system. And they looked at it very, very, very negatively. Very negatively. And it caused a huge problem. It tanked EA's stock prices. It tanked game sales. The game sold, I think, 9 million, but only but not many of it was done through retail. And so that was a big point of contention too. And now we're kind of getting a bit more of the aftermath of this with this rumor that Disney and Lucasfilm Limited are talking with 2 new game publishers for Star Wars. Now, this could just be a falsity. This could just be a rumor that someone in the company put out in order to put the pressure on EA to get their shit together. Because right now, when it comes to this, they're not. So it says, if you're unhappy with the current state of Star Wars games from EA, you may not be the only one. Well, I'd say that is, at this point, probably the majority of people aren't happy. And we have the skinny on the 2 publishers Disney may be looking at to take over. It says here that Electronic Arts snagged the exclusive license deal to create and publish Star Wars games way back in 2013. And in the time since, EA has struggled with the property. The first game they announced and released was Star Wars Battlefront, suffered backlash with its lack of single-player campaign, launching with such little content that many became bored quickly. Subsequent DLC packs added a lot of great content, but by the end, everyone was waiting to see what happened next, which is true. And actually, by December 2016, you could have gotten the entire Ultimate Collection of Star Wars for I think I paid $16 for it, right? I just rebought the game for $16, which is cheaper than buying all the DLC because I had it all the way on there. And the DLC and the upgrades to Battlefront 1 a year later was fantastic. Again, making me think Battlefront 2 was going to be, let's learn from our mistake situation. I guess EA doesn't ever actually learn from their mistakes. So Battlefront 2 brought only more problems, despite making changes at the last minute. The launch was pretty rocky, and the whole debacle had brought a wave of attention down on loot boxes in gaming, with some governments looking to crack down on the practice, which is true. Hawaii is looking to crack down on it. Other governments have chimed in as saying that they're not too happy with it, and they're going to put restrictions on it. So this could be a way of absolutely ending this particular practice in gaming until the microtransactions are therefore replaced with something else that isn't really like a slot machine. Now, EA's latest financial statements have shown the impact, with sales down and failing to meet expectations. But at the same time, to be on the other side of this, EA stock may have like really significantly dipped as a result of Battlefront 2. It did, but it shot right back up like a couple days later. So higher to where it was before it dipped. So, you know, EA may have lost some money right then, but they quickly recovered. So that should tell you that ultimately the fight over this game did not have as much of an impact on EA financially as those of us who were not happy with how they did things would have liked, which again might be one of the reasons why this particular rumor is happening. Now, Star Wars is dominating the big screen, comics and novels once again, but it's lacking big time in the games department. While the constant stream of mobile titles have been decent enough, they don't quite scratch the surface or scratch the itch for many gamers. Originally, Lucasfilm went to EA because it was such a large company with many developers under their control, so they could potentially deliver more Star Wars games in a quicker amount of time. that never fucking happened. 5 games in only 5 years and 2 games in, with a couple of others barely announced, the investment isn't paying off like they wanted, which is true. Disney realizes that Star Wars, regardless of how bad the narrative structure was for The Last Jedi, still pulled in $1.3 billion, still made a lot of money. Solo is going to make a lot of money regardless of a lot of the crap surrounding it. I saw that trailer in IMAX last night, and I'm like, man, that looked good. And just visuals alone has me in to see that movie. Anyway, they know it's going to make a lot of money. They know that the franchise has legs. They need a game to complement that. So maybe they do need to go someplace else. So it says Lucasfilm is upset and looking for other options. A couple sources have reached out about the current state of Star Wars gaming. According to them, Disney Lucasfilm Limited higher-ups have pulled EA into the principal's office to talk about what's going wrong. More so, they've apparently reached out to both Ubisoft and Activision about developing Star Wars games. Now, there's not much more information than that, but Ubisoft and Activision developing Star Wars games is an interesting concept, because let's think of it like this for a second. Who would be the better developer for a Star Wars game, Ubisoft or Activision? Many people out there would probably sit there and think, if you're looking at it from a Battlefront perspective, well, shit, Activision, right? They know how to do it. They can maintain the servers. They can create games with at least decent single player stories, but have highly competitive and highly addictive multiplayer with Call of Duty. Imagine Call of Duty Star Wars. That's what you'd get with Activision, right? That could be something. That could be something very good, more fast-paced and fluid gameplay. DICE did a great job with Star Wars, but ultimately I feel like Battlefield 1 was the better of the 3 games released from 2015, 2016, and 2017. For some reason, Battlefield 1 felt more polished than Star Wars Battlefront 2. That is weird to me, given the fact that there was a year of development time in between and advancements in technology. Now, looking at Ubisoft, this would actually be my primary suggestion here. I'm serious. Ubisoft has the tendency of putting out a lot of content very, very quickly. All right. They've got, just at the end of 2016, they had Watch Dogs 2. They had a couple other games. There was like, was it the For Honor came out just after that. Steep came out. They had a few games come out very quickly. They can crank these games out. Assassin's Creed kind of went back to the drawing board, came back better than ever. They know how to advance their particular franchises along, as well as sequelizing them as fast as humanly possible. Look at the amount of love for Rainbow Six Siege. Imagine a Siege type game that was using Star Wars. That would be super interesting. Could also be kind of boring depending on how they did it, but the way that Ubisoft is able to tackle these kind of online titles with microtransactions and earning money on the side, which is what EA wanted to do with Battlefront 2 and loot boxes, could probably be better handled by Ubisoft. And of course, looking at the popularity for Mario plus Rabbids and that crossover and how well that did, it would also establish to Disney that they can handle this kind of cross promotion and hit this kind of licenses with respect. And that ultimately is what Disney's looking for. They want profitability and they want the money to come in. So yes, Ubisoft and Activision are both way better choices than EA. And my personal take would be Ubisoft as a better publisher and ultimately developer than Activision. Activision, I just really hate Bobby Kotick. I know I'm not alone in that, right? Like, you ask any COD player and they're like, hey, who at Activision do you hate the most? And they're going to be like, oh yeah, Kotick, man. Fuck that guy. And there's that. So ultimately, I feel like this would be the better bet. Ultimately, I feel like leaving EA behind is going to be the right thing. Because if anything damages EA as a whole, I will be happy with that. And I feel that if, you know, they want to tell these action-packed games and having many of them come out, like one a year come out, there is no better developer and publisher right now than Ubisoft in that regard, you know, and that's, I think that's been reflective in sales and general lack of controversy. Yes. Ubisoft will make mistakes. Don't get me wrong. Their PC ports are garbage and they do need to work on that. From my understanding, Assassin's Creed Origins had very few problems with the PC launch. So obviously they've had their issues. We'll never be able to unsee Assassin's Creed Unity. That's forever sketched into our minds. But since then, I do believe that they have learned. I believe that they have grown, and I believe that they can put out the better product. Activision, what else do they do outside of the Call of Duty games at this point? Right? Why would they ever, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure they do something, but I can't think of anything Activision does outside of Call of Duty that interests me as a gamer. So I would argue that right now, Activision's not even in the running, probably because why would they want to split their development teams? And you know, because if you're going to get Star Wars, let's take a look at this for a second. If you're Activision and you want to get Star Wars, who are you going to put on it? Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer Games, Treyarch. Those are your top people. You know, like we know that Respawn Entertainment, the guys behind Titanfall 2, which is an excellent shooter, are working on a Star Wars game, but that's not going to come out till like 2020. You know, so if they do cut that and they do drop that, who could crank out a game the fastest for a fall 2019 release? Because they would need a winter 2019 release to coincide with the release of Episode 9. Whether it's a Battlefront game or something else entirely, they need that. And right now, it doesn't even look like we're going to get anything coming out of EA that's even remotely going to give us a game that will be able to compete in that market in a couple of years. Unless it's Battlefront 3. Which, knowing EA and knowing Disney, knowing the money EA spent for it, Disney will probably grant them Battlefront 3, hopefully with massive restrictions and, you know, micromanagement out the ass. No, I'm serious. That's the... Oh, right, Destiny. I completely forgot about Destiny. Thank you for telling me that. I totally forgot about Destiny. So, okay. Sorry, I'm getting, like, messages and shit. Totally spaced on fucking Destiny, man. Anyone even playing Destiny anymore? Give you a Star Wars themed Overwatch. Fuck it. Bring in Blizzard. There you go. Give the Star Wars license to Blizzard. Let that happen. That'd be good. That'd be good. So, okay, so Activision made Crash Twinsanity Trilogy, and they're making a Spyro Trilogy game. I've never cared about those, to be honest with you. So Activision does Skylanders. Yeah, well, I mean, Disney's, what was it? Disney Infinity crashed and burned. So that was Star Wars stuff. That didn't happen. So you got that. From Software needs to make a Star Wars game. Disney's just looking for an easy way out. Disney's looking for an easy way to make games that do well. Because the thing is, the franchises are there. The fact that there hasn't been a Star Wars Rebels game at this point, at least if there has been one on mobile, I have no idea. So, so there's that. Still waiting for Star Wars Empire at War. Dude, we all are. But I do hear the modding community on that's pretty solid. I should get back into that again. This is a vitamin B vape pen. So it's not actual vape. I just smoke it because it doesn't have the same impact as anything else. And I've been wanting to smoke again. So Rockstar would make a phenomenal Star Wars. They haven't put a fucking game out. And they haven't put a fucking game out in almost 5 years. When will they ever get to it? All right. Yeah, Rachel. I know it's a rumor. So remake LucasArts. Fuck yeah, man. Fuck yeah. GTA Star Wars. That'd be pretty great. I'd be down for that. I would so be down for that shit. Knights of the Old Republic 2. Yeah. What about Naughty Dog Star Wars? That would have to go to Sony because Naughty Dog is wholly owned by Sony. But then again, what was it? Spider-Man coming out from Insomniac. So that's going to be something. Is weed legal in my state? Yes, weed is legal in my state. So, all right, let's jump into the next one here. Because this is an interesting one. This is one of the ones that's in the thumbnail. Which I think every time I do a new thumbnail, I get a lot more people watching. It's pretty funny. So, hit record on that one. All right. Snaps for traps, guys. Living in the Pacific Northwest, which is where I'm at right now in Washington, and having grown up here, Bigfoot was always a large part of our culture, I guess you could say. It's like there's always been the thoughts of Bigfoot. Do you see Bigfoot? Is Bigfoot out there? I know as a young lad who liked to read up about cryptozoology, I really enjoyed the myths of Bigfoot and, also the Yetis. It's a cool concept, but I never fully believed that this shit was real. Even though there's been tons and tons and tons and tons of sightings over the years, it's always kind of fun just to relish in the moment of what if it's real? But this woman believes it's real and is now suing the state of California because they refuse to take her seriously. I love 2018 so far. So it says here that a California woman who claims she saw Sasquatch perched in a tree last year is suing California for refusing to accept what she knows to be true. Bigfoot inhabitants the San Bernardino Mountains. Now, Northern California is a great place to go and just walk through the forest. Go to the redwoods, find yourself lost and feeling the most minuscule you'll ever feel, but not in a bad way, right? And you could see like Bigfoot kind of just tromping around out there. Go into Lake Shasta and other parts of Northern California and see this kind of stuff. And there's always been the talks that Bigfoot has a migration pattern that, goes from like Northern California all the way up to Washington and into like, Southern Canada, Southern British Columbia and whatnot. I mean, hell, even during the shooting of Star Wars Return of the Jedi, which they shot in Northern California for the Endor stuff, Peter Mayhew as Chewbacca had to wear a yellow vest in order to not confuse hunters into thinking that he was Bigfoot. That would be really funny if that was actually the basis for a lot of the sightings that happened post 1982 or right around 1982. Now, Claudia Ackley, who's been researching Bigfoot for the past 2 decades, was hiking with her 2 daughters, aged 11 and 14, near Lake Arrowhead last March when her children became paralyzed with fear. Hold on, Lake Arrowhead? Lake Arrowhead, that's pretty south for most of the sightings. All right, that's pretty south. It's a beautiful place, don't get me wrong, but it's a little south. Now, Ackley told news outlets. First, Ackley assumed she had seen a bear, but she then observed what appeared to be an approximately 800-pound creature resembling the hairy Neanderthal just a few yards away, about 30 feet up in a tree. Okay. Once she and her daughters were safe, Ackley called authorities to report the Sasquatch sighting, but they insisted that she had seen a bear. Just imagine like that conversation for a hot second. Like if anything, like in her mind, clearly she thinks it's gaslighting, but like, I just think of this as like, like the Forest Service is in on it and they're just gaslighting her to think she's crazy. Like she's like, I saw Bigfoot. No, ma'am, you saw a bear. I saw Bigfoot. Are you sure? Are you sure you saw Bigfoot? What it looked like? It was big. It was tall. It was hairy. It was 800 pounds. Did it appear to have like a large nose and claws? Yes, it did. Well, then it probably was a bear. Also, are you on your period? Because menstruation makes women go crazy. I can just imagine that I'm not saying that, but I mean, I can see that happening. Now, the denial inspired Ackley to file a lawsuit against the California Department of Fish and Wildlife and the State Natural Resources Agency last month, accusing California of dereliction of duty for failing to protect Bigfoot and infringing on her constitutional rights. Infringing on her constitutional rights because they're like, lady, you cray cray. But before we get into what they say here in terms of the lawsuit itself, this woman is a Bigfoot researcher and has been researching Bigfoot for 20 years. So are you know, it's not like this is a person who is actively looking for Bigfoot, right? She's actively searching for Bigfoot. And you're telling me that she has an 11-year-old and a 14-year-old in 2018, California, that don't have cell phones, that don't have cameras with them constantly, that aren't Snapchatting the crap out of everything? I find that to be more suspicious than anything else. All right, I do. Now, but seriously, she's a Bigfoot hunter. She says she found Bigfoot and she's suing the state because they acknowledged to accept her feels on the situation. Okay. So it says here, Ackley's petition makes some valid and interesting points, starting strong with the introduction that invokes esteemed conservationist President Theodore Roosevelt, saying, for over 100 years, thousands of men and women across the state of California claim to have witnessed a bipedal hominoid creature that received its common name Bigfoot 60 years ago in a 1958 article in the California newspaper, the Humboldt Times. At the time, the article was considered to be groundbreaking and was published across the United States as well as internationally, triggering a groundswell of interest in the topic. Indeed, the species was even alluded to by President Theodore Roosevelt in his book, The Wilderness Hunter, published in 1892. Since PhDs, wildlife biologists, police forensic officers, and wilderness experts have been gathering physical evidence, film evidence, and eyewitness testimony from doctors, judges, engineers, substantiating the existence of the species. But where's the proof? It's the same concept that happens when you talk about God. Okay, and I'm not trying to deride anyone's religion here, but think of it from the same perspective. People out there going like they're walking around in a forest and they're like, there's Bigfoot behind every rock, or behind every tree, underneath every rock. Bigfoot is all around. You can kind of start to see, like, you talk about this for years and you never provide any evidence. And the last time they said that they found Bigfoot and they had caught it, put it in a freezer, it was a hoax, right? There's so many hoaxes that have happened over the years. You figure, like, at this point, you know it's kind of BS, right? So Ackley then asserts that by refusing to acknowledge the existence of Sasquatch, the state is ignoring the overwhelming evidence of what could be one of the greatest discoveries of our time. In this petition, petitioner leads a team of men and women who have dedicated their lives to the discovery and development of information regarding the Sasquatch. Like her, they know this man-like primate species currently resides in the forests of California. Together, they bring this court overwhelming evidence that proves that this will be considered one of the greatest discoveries of our time, and pray that respondents will be ordered by this court to accept and duly administer their legal responsibility to manage this wildlife species, as it is the duty of respondents to ensure the species habitat upon which they depend remains intact for their ecological values as is expressed in the before mentioned mission statement. But this is not just a California issue. There are sightings all the way up the West Coast. You have Bigfoot sightings, well, more like swamp creature, swamp ape sightings in Florida, but there's Bigfoot sightings that happened in like the like Kentucky, back in those hills, like I want to like the Adirondacks or whatever the hell it's called. Like there's tons of sightings all over the place. So it's not just like the ecology of this region it needs to be protected. This goes from all the way up. So unless the court is gonna sit there and suggest that other states start to manage this as like an endangered species or something, is just hysterical, because I love it. Anyway, perhaps more importantly, by ignoring the evidence of Sasquatch, Ackley claims the state is putting its citizens at risk of attack by these giant primates. I mean, listen, I could understand if there were attacks that happened from Bigfoot. I could totally see that as being a thing. If there were frequent attacks of a man-ape like species that was gallivanting around the Northern California, parts of Southern California, Oregon, Washington, Canada, that was going around and it was beating up people in the forest, right? Beating them up, taking their freaking lunch. I could totally see that. You have an epidemic on your hands. Bigfoot is a menace to society. Hunt him down, track him down, take him out, put him in a zoo. I can get that. But there's been no evidence that it's a risk to society. Anyway, this is great. In addition, respondents' denial of the species puts the public safety at serious risk. Small groups of these giant primates exist within the borders of the state of California. Since zero official research by respondents has ever been conducted, citizens of the state of California are put at serious risk when confronted by a species that, according to respondents, does not exist. These giant primates are potentially capable of inflicting great harm. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife Investigations Laboratory, aka the Lab, was established in 1941 and is mandated by the California Fish and Wildlife Code 1008 to conduct wildlife disease. So she's straight up going into this like, you are not doing your job as a California Department of Fish and Wildlife to investigate claims that Bigfoot exists. Never mind the fact, in the state of Oregon, a Bigfoot trap was constructed in the late 1970s. It was just a big wooden room with a door on a trigger, and with a trap door that if you triggered it, it would shut and they would catch it. Well, and like a couple years later, they realized, well, the whole thing was dumb, and they ended up just pinning the door open, and you can go to Southern Oregon now down by Medford and check it out. It's on my bucket list of things to do, to be honest with you. So the petition then continues to a statement of facts, which include that some strong points about Gigantohorridus hominoid, the hominid or primate that is commonly known as Bigfoot, that are difficult to disagree with, saying the respondents are or ought to be aware that the state of California is home to a large wild indigenous mammal considered to be a giant hairy vertebrate, hominoid or primate commonly known as Sasquatch. The Sasquatch hominoid or primate, Gigantohorridus hominoid and or Gigantopithecus, whatever, the type of species is also commonly known as Bigfoot. There are knowledge gaps in respect of Sasquatch. Sasquatch is a species at risk, a threatened species, and or an endangered species that very well may pose a threat to the health and well-being of the citizens of the state of California. But the real victims here are Ackley and the others like her that want to educate others on the existence of Sasquatch. Going down here, it says, by respondents' denial of the existence of Sasquatch, petitioner's credibility has been diminished, her dignity has been damaged, she is ostracized, subject to embarrassment and ridicule, and her right to establish a legitimate Sasquatch-based business has been infringed upon. By simply calling Popo and Popo saying, yo girl, you cray, I don't think so. I don't think so. Now it says, while Ackley's lawsuit doesn't offer any specific proof of Bigfoot's existence, she reportedly intends to submit a mountain of evidence in court to support her case, including testimony from wildlife biologists, wilderness experts, and police forensic officers. Additionally, one of her daughters captured a video of what she saw. Oh, well, now they talk about the damn video. The video, which was included in the local ABC News segment, shows what appears to be trees and shadows. It's always trees and shadows. Always. Right? They're like, it's Bigfoot. It makes me wonder if Bigfoot just can't be filmed. Makes me wonder that. Right? But this before we finish this up here, there's a weird theory I heard many years ago. And I think it's kind of cool. I don't believe it, but I think it's kind of cool. Where it's like cryptozoology, right? Or cryptoids. They can somehow travel through interdimensional. Like I've heard, and you can probably find videos about this on YouTube, where they look at Bigfoot as being an interdimensional being, that Bigfoot can pass through the multiverse, and that Bigfoot really exists in other multiverses, and other planets, and other universes, other existences, and then is able to migrate to ours for a brief period of time. Perhaps it's for resource gathering, or perhaps it's for fucking with people they find in the forest. Who knows? Anything can happen. But it's I'll tell you this, I would argue that is probably more of a valid theory than you know, a vast, massive cover-up by the California Fish and Wildlife Department. Oh my God. Anyway, it finishes up here by saying, Ackley's hearing, scheduled for March 19th, could be a watershed case for cryptozoologists who just want their research to be taken seriously. In the meantime, the San Bernardino Sun reports that she left snacks, including soda, Fritos, and fruit near the site of the spotting, along with a voice-activated book with pictures inside, made by Ackley in an effort to communicate with Bigfoot. So this lady is legit thinking that Bigfoot is real. Legit. And you know what? Hey, man, good for her, to be honest with you. Good for her. I'm totally fine with that. I have nothing against this woman believing in Bigfoot and wanting to hunt Bigfoot, all right? Like, you know, I've been all through the woods in Oregon, Washington, California, and parts of it, at least like the West Coast side of it. And, you know, I walk around the woods and I think to myself, what if Bigfoot's out here? You know, that random thought that pops through your head. No, you never find anything, and you go home at the end of the day going like, that was fun. What if? It's always the what ifs. But when you take your what if and you translate it into a lawsuit against the state of California, trying to get them to acknowledge your, thoughts on this issue as a legal thing. It really makes you question if this lady is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. With that being said, March 19th is not that far away. And I'm very curious to see what happens. And I really hope that there's a nice update on the case because, oh boy, we're in for a treat with what she presents as evidence. Yeah, I like that there. Pit Kendoka. Scientists were able to take a photo of a single atom last week, but we still can't get a clear shot of Bigfoot. Oh, it's serious. Oh, it's serious. That's so fucking funny to me. We all need that fast money. I like that fast money. Speaking of fast money, super chats are a thing. You want to help out? That are likes. We're at 82 likes right now. 239 people watching. Let's get to 100 likes. Smash that likes. So, that's just so funny to me. So fucking, like, don't get me wrong. It's more like, I'm not against what this woman has her opinions and everything else. I want her to be able to, like, pursue what she wants, but I just, like, come on, suing the state. I feel like it's almost like a ploy of some way. So could the state of California arrest her for feeding this dangerous Bigfoot? They could probably get her for littering, which is actually not that big of a fine in California. In Oregon, it's a lot more. I mean, she left out a voice-activated book for Bigfoot. Like the cow goes moo sort of thing, That's pretty funny. Mr. Shadow here says, I'm more concerned there's always out of focus animal running around. Yeah, what's up with that, man? What is up with that? All right. People like JJ time? JJ time? We'll do JJ time next. We'll do that one. I have a feeling people are gonna take off after I'm done with JJ, man. Oh, okay. Oh shit, where's that at? All right. Okay, Accelerator $2 super chats, huh? Super chats. That's right. That's right. All right. Oh yeah, I totally forgot. There's also Streamlabs too. If you don't want to give Google any of your money, which I don't blame you. I do not blame you at all. Google is, kind of nightmare at times to work with, but ultimately, they do their thing. They do their thing. Okay. Cool. Oh, so I just got like the MLC gamer just tweeted me some Sasquatch food for thought. I'll give that I'll give that a go after I finish up the stream. Okay. Brent Harvey, PUBG greater than Fortnite. Yeah. Or am I reading that wrong? No, PUBG greater than Fortnite. I always get those kind of backwards. Star Wars Rey is a Mary Sue. That I disagree. We can go into that though later on. I have a feeling though after this it might actually be a thing. Okay. Let's jump into this here. For those of you guys wanted the JJ story. Now the thing is, before we jump into it, there's been a lot of snippets of this that have been popped out. Okay, a lot of snippets from what he says have been popped out based upon this interview. And I'm going to go through this whole story because I feel like this would be probably the best course of action in terms of disseminating what is said and not just snipping it out of context. So it's not super, super long, but it will be pretty good because I feel like this is something that we need to kind of talk about. So snaps for traps. Snaps for traps. Oh man, Star Wars: The Last Jedi is a movie that I have really, really ragged on for a while, and it has a lot to do with the narrative structure is bad, the way it handled characters is bad, and the way it told its story is bad. Objectively worse than The Force Awakens. The Force Awakens, while a retreading of certain themes, from Star Wars, The Force Awakens, the Star Wars, A New Hope, it still felt in its own right like it was still trying to be part of that universe that George Lucas had created. Whereas The Last Jedi took it in an entirely different direction, and that a lot of people simply did not like. And a lot of the response back to that, if you did not care for the movie, was treated very similar to the 2016 Ghostbusters reboot, which is, well, it features women in these prominent roles. If you don't like it, you are clearly sexist. And there are people out there who are very much sexist, very much misogynistic, who did not care for this movie. But the general amount of people who didn't care for it did so because they just didn't like the goddamn thing. Not that it had anything to do with the working order of the private parts of the people who started it. But J.J. Abrams was coming in to do episode 9 thinking this is going to be the guy who's going to kind of right the ship. And I don't know anymore. I don't know anymore. So it says that J.J. Abrams, Star Wars fans who didn't like The Last Jedi are threatened by women. Now, the title in and of itself is meant to be inflammatory. It's meant to be something that is going to spur a lot of hatred online. It's meant for clicks. Make no mistake. It's a clickbait headline. But let's see what's actually going on here. Now, as he prepares to re-enter the Star Wars universe with his upcoming and still untitled Episode 9, Force Awakens filmmaker J.J. Abrams is unbothered by the recent backlash to the diversity of Star Wars The Last Jedi. Asked by IndieWire about the pushback from Star Wars fans who decried Rian Johnson's film for its focus on more female-centric stories, bolstered by the addition of franchise newbies like Laura Dern and Kelly Marie Tran, Abrams was clear. The problem isn't Star Wars, the problem is being threatened. And again, I wholly disagree with that. Now we can break this down real quick. The reason why people didn't really care for, let's say, the 3 female leads in the movie, which were in fact Leia Organa, General Organa, Rose, Tico, and General Holdo. Those were, and Rey, what I'm talking the new, essentially the kind of new-ish additions or whatever, because Rey was kind of on Rey's own journey and not much with her really changed. But those 3. You had the flying nun scene, which was just completely out of character for Leia, regardless of whether or not Luke had given her some Force training over the course of the 30 years between Return of the Jedi and now. We never saw any of that. It was never explained to any of us. We never saw it at all. Therefore, it's a show, or it's a tell, not a show. That's a problem. When they bring in Admiral Holdo is kind of met with this reverence from everyone else there. She's revered heavily as this massive, very, very, very competent general, knows what she's doing, take no shit type character, which is cool. And Laura Dern, for her, I'd say, lack of a better, for her job in it, she did a good job. She played that part well. The problem, though, is that we're meant to care about this character for her ultimate sacrifice. But we only got like maybe 20 minutes of screen time with her. Not a lot. Not enough to establish a character that anyone's going to care about. Again, it's like we're coming in halfway into her journey, halfway into her arc. We're meant to see her and see that she's this big badass character and then never given the time to aptly respond to that. Same goes with Rose Tico. Rose, who is down in the by the escape pods in the ship, tasing anyone who tries to get out of there, is all of a sudden working with Finn to try to take over take out this one thing on the enemy ship. Takes him off on their whole other adventure where they start talking about like child slavery, which, by the way, the child slavery aspect of the entire thing took a huge backseat to what can only be argued as a PETA commercial, and people didn't really care for that, mostly because the Canto Bight scene slowed the entire movie to a fucking crawl. So those are the 3 complaints right there. The way characters were handled, their arcs, their actions were not indicative of proper storytelling. Just because they were women is not the reason, entirely the reason. But because, like I said, this goes back to Ghostbusters 2016, people like, sites like IndieWire here and other bloggers have made it about the women and therefore formulate the questions to the filmmakers and the cast about that, only fueling the fire further. And that's unfortunate because what this franchise needs is an overhaul in good storytelling and less photo ops of wearing the Force is female, because that's just stirring the pot when it doesn't need to be there. Now, in December, an alt-right group claimed responsibility for lowering the film's Rotten Tomatoes score, claiming that its issues with the film partially stem from introducing more female characters into the franchise's universe. As a Telegraph noted at the time, user reviews included comments like politically correct to the point of boredom, SJW propaganda, and I'm frustrated that feminism and diversity have made their way into this film. This has ruined Star Wars for me as well as my kids. Keep liberalism out of it and stop ruining once good things. And again, those are all people's opinions. I don't agree with those opinions, but those are their opinions. And the thing is, at the same time, the group here, the alt-right group, again, is completely very broad in terms of saying that, is the guy who formulated the group does have alt-right leanings, but the group doesn't espouse an alt-right mentality. The same way that they tried to argue that when this particular group was going to go after the audience score of Black Panther, they tried to argue that it was about racism. The name of the group is Down with Star Wars, like Disney's treatment of Star Wars and its fanboys. It's literally about trying to shut down how Disney has handled Star Wars. Nothing to do with female characters or race or anything like that. It's legitimately about how they don't like the way the franchise has gone. It just so happens to have an alt-right personality or a person who agrees with the alt-right as their leader. So again, it's kind of labeling, it's more identity politics, and it doesn't help actually understand the context of the situation. Now, it goes on to say Abrams was unfazed, saying Star Wars is a big galaxy, and you can sort of find almost anything you want to in Star Wars. If you are someone who feels threatened by women and needs to lash out against them, you can probably find an enemy in Star Wars. You can probably look at the first movie that George did and say that Leia was too outspoken or she was too tough. Anyone who wants to find a problem with anything can find the problem. The internet seems to be made for that. Now, I'm almost kind of wondering, to an extent, if J.J. Abrams is also turning the table back on the person who was asking the question, because that is almost what it could be, right? It almost feels like that. Now, the likelihood of that ever being a reason that is released by J.J. Abrams or ever talked about as a whole, that's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to do it simply because that would also destroy the narrative. But the thing is, it says you can find anything you want in Star Wars. You can make an enemy out of it if you want to, and the internet seems to be made for that. Now, keep in mind, he's rebooted 2 major franchises. Both have had fanboys come after him with the fire and fury of 1,000 angry gods. He probably answered this in very much kind of the internet's designed for that kind of thing. I just don't care. I'm gonna take the movie I want to make. They can see it, they cannot see it. I don't give a shit. That's probably more or less what it boils down to. I mean, Star Trek and Into Darkness got hammered by fans, especially Into Darkness. So, you know, he's taken his licks in this kind of stuff. He probably just tunes most of it out. Now, asked if fan outcry would at all impact his vision for the upcoming film, Abrams was clear, not in the least, he said, adding, there's a lot I'd like to say about it, but I feel it's a little early to be having the episode 9 conversation. I will say that the story of Rey and Poe and Finn and Kylo Ren, and if you look, these are 3 men and 1 woman. To those that are complaining that there's too many women in Star Wars, their story continues in a way that I couldn't be more excited about and cannot wait for people to see. Now, if you notice there, he didn't mention Rose Tico. He didn't mention Leia, and we all know what happened to Carrie Fisher, and he didn't mention anything involving Admiral Holdo, who we all know is dead. So, I mean, that one makes sense. But he didn't say anything about Rose Tico. Now, Rose was a primary force of The Last Jedi. And if you remember from The Force Awakens, JJ's own creation of Captain Phasma was meant to be a big centerpiece for the franchise. She was going to be like the new Boba Fett or some new bad villain that we were all going to be like, ooh, it's Phasma out to play. And it never happened, especially because Rian Johnson completely screwed over that character by 2 minutes of screen time and a really lazy death. Now, are they going to bring her back for the 3rd movie and solidify her in pop culture icon status? Who freaking knows? But again, what he is deflecting here from the argument by saying this is the story of Rey and Poe and Finn and Kylo Ren. Not really. It ultimately isn't. It's the story of Rey and Kylo Ren and then Finn a little bit, but Poe barely got any screen time in The Last Jedi as well. He didn't get a lot, right? Not as much as Kylo Ren, not as much as Rey, not as much as Finn. And the reason for that had a lot to do with the fact that Poe, if anything, at this point, is a secondary character. If you were to ask people who are the stars of Star Wars at this point, they would say Rey, they'd say Kylo Ren, and they might say Finn. Other than that, they're not looking at Poe as a main character. Poe wasn't even supposed to really survive this long. He was originally going to die in The Force Awakens, but they kept him around. Even Oscar Isaac has said that himself. So again, this is just kind of a deflection of the story of trying to turn it back around by saying, well, we have 3 men and 1 woman. No, you really have 2 men and 1 woman. And if you really want to break it down, you have 1 man and 1 woman that, based upon what we saw in The Last Jedi, are 2 sides of the same coin, the Force meeting itself to find balance between the light and the dark, which again, does go in line with what happens in Star Wars. So ultimately, this is not men feeling threatened by this, as this just goes back again to what I'm saying of being a story telling narrative, or the storytelling perspective. Now, they go on to say that equality in the industry is top of the mind for filmmakers, as Abrams is honored to be next week, or is to being honored next week at the Athena Film Festival's Leading Man Award, given to men in Hollywood who have a strong record of serving as vocal allies of and effective advocates for women in entertainment. So, previous honorees include Paul Feig. Well, that award can suck it. And so then he goes on to talk about some more stuff here, saying, I wish it weren't something that there was need to do. When asked about the honor, he said it's a bit like, oh, you know, he goes on to talk about that shit. All right, you know what? None of that even matters. None of that even matters at all. I'll actually end up probably cutting that out. So, now, I know I kind of titled this in the thumbnail for Russell as J.J. Abrams cucks himself over Star Wars. But as you can see, it's really not as bad as that. It really isn't. The idea here is not that men are threatened about women in Star Wars, because I know no man ultimately who's threatened by having a woman character in Star Wars. These are men who grew up watching Leia, loving Leia for Leia, because Leia as a character was allowed to exist. Leia as an actor, Carrie Fisher, was allowed to exist. They were allowed to become their character and allowed to go through their arc without having this kind of social justice, progressive nonsense crammed down everyone's throat months and months and months leading into the release of the film, therefore clouding any kind of criticism of the character as being something that would be considered as sexist. So there's that, obviously. Whereas Rey never got that opportunity. Rey was always, oh, it's the first female lead in Star Wars. And then you had people coming out saying, Rey is a Mary Sue. I still disagree with that notion. However, we can disagree, and that is perfectly fine. But you've got that. You've got Captain Phasma. You've got Princess Leia, or General Organa. And that was a big thing, too. People who grew up with her as Princess Leia, she came back as General Organa. And there was a big, big fight on Twitter about that. Like, you can't call her Princess Leia. That's not her proper term anymore. Ever since Alderaan was destroyed, she really is just Leia at this point. And then now she's General Leia in the Resistance. So that's her honor. And people are going to know what they're going to know her as. But it's really what other people make of this whole thing. Right? It's really what other people pile on that really disrupts how people enjoy the movie. Look at Black Panther right now. Black Panther is a killer movie. I loved every second of it. It had very little to do with social justice politics or identity politics. It was part of it, but it was part of the overall story. However, what we've been seeing is a lot of these opinion pieces and think pieces coming out that are absolutely attacking anyone who disagrees with it. It got one bad review on Rotten Tomatoes and half of Black Twitter lost their shit, because this is how people respond to this kind of stuff now. And if they just let these characters, and I mean that as film goers as well as watching this, if we would just kind of shut out a lot of this nonsense, and I'm not saying I add or detract from it, sometimes I do, so it's something I'm working on too, but if we would detract a lot from this nonsense and go in just looking to be entertained and take it at that level, that face value, I think we'd all have a better time going to the movies. But when it comes to the internet, especially when it comes to profiting off of the internet, you have to be the type of person who goes for clicks, who goes for clickbait, who goes for outrage, whether it's real or false, because that will spur money. And that's what a lot of this outrage blows back to. That's what IndieWire's Kate Erbland here is doing. She is asking provocative questions with a provocative headline in order to elicit a provocative response that she can use to put out there to make IndieWire and other publications like it more freaking money. But at the same time, to be absolutely fair, by talking about it, I make money too. It's a vicious and cruel cycle that I can't quite see an end to anytime soon. And ultimately, it's super unfortunate. Which is true. Which is just fucking true. You can go write a bad review of that. No, people, they go, you're telling me that the title of this fucking article is not clickbait? You're telling me the title of this right here is not clickbait? That's straight up clickbait, dude. Straight up, man. Straight Straight up clickbait. All right. That's right. Smash that like button. Thank you very much, Tracy Peter. What do I think they're going to do with General Leia in episode 9? She's going to die off screen, I think. If I had to guess, it would be an off-screen death is what I feel is going to happen. An off-screen death. So that's the thing. You know, that's what I think. That's what I think they're going to do with it. They're just going to kill her off screen and everything. Okay. So, let's see. How's my Valentine's Day? I didn't, what did I do Valentine's Day? Oh yeah, I went and got Chinese food. This restaurant in town. Not bad. A little overpriced, little salty, but not bad. You know, we don't get a lot of exquisite food here. Don't know if I'd go there again. I mean, their shrimp was good, but other than that, I came home and watched something and then played video games because my girlfriend had to go to work. So, yeah, Tyon, yeah. So you thinking Luke was handled poorly is being threatened. That's kind of how they look at it. So that was a bit longer when I went like 15 minutes in that video. But, you know, what I like about these streams are people who come on in to watch. There's like 250 of you watching right now, which is awesome. You guys get to see the process live. If I make mistakes, you get to see the process. I like that interactivity. I like being able to show you guys behind the curtain, if you will. So we have that. All right. We're just going to bust through these last two real quick here. Because, okay, this one tomorrow, well, I'll talk about it here in a sec, but let's see. So I'm actually going to see this guy tomorrow. And this is going to be great. So, all right, snaps or traps, guys. Snaps or traps. Let's do this. Party time. Last year was really interesting when it came to dealing with Google and the idea of whether or not it's a sexist, male-dominated environment, right? And it came to a head, absolutely, when James Damore released what is now known as the infamous Google memo, which, you know, like a 3,000-word document that he wrote talking about the differences between men and women and how it basically applies to the STEM industry in programming. And a lot of people out there looked at it and they're like, yeah, this kind of makes some sense, right? It kind of makes some sense. And it wasn't really presented in any kind of way that was viewed as being sexist or misogynistic or bigoted or anything else like this. But given the fact that we are where we are right now in terms of our society, oh, it got this dude fired. Oh, it got him fired so hard. So he filed a lawsuit against Google. And it's not looking too good for him because he has lost the diversity memo challenge. Now, it says here that Google's firing of an engineer over his controversial memo criticizing its diversity policies and politically correct monoculture didn't violate U.S. labor law, a federal agency lawyer concluded. And that is unfortunate. It is. As a person who does pretty much look at, I'm left of center, right? You know, in some cases, definitely more socially, socially liberal than others. Even I can say, like, if you are conservative in freaking Silicon Valley, you will be punished for that. And that should violate U.S. labor law simply because you being punished for your political beliefs and your opinions is horrible and should not happen, right? I am very much a proponent of free speech. Now, statements in Damore's 3,000-word memo regarding biological differences between the sexes were so harmful, discriminatory, and disruptive that they fell outside the protections for collective action in the workplace. An associate general counsel for the National Labor Relations Board wrote in a 6-page memo disclosed on Thursday. Explain to me how they were harmful, discriminatory, and disruptive. That's not refuting what he says. It's not refuting what he said. This is the problem with the way that the discourse works. It's never refuting point for point. It's always just like, well, you said something I didn't like. You hurt my fifis. You must go. And that's ultimately what that particular statement right there is saying. That his writing about the differences between the sexes were so harmful, discriminatory, and disruptive. Did people need safe spaces and counseling in order to look at a memo? Whatever happened to sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me, right? That mentality clearly doesn't apply to the new generation of people, and it's unfortunate. I'd like to remind, I'd like any of these people to ever like run a job in the internet, right? Like, you have to live by that moniker. If not, you're going to probably blow your brains out. Now, Damore withdrew his complaint in January, and his lawyer says that she's focusing instead on the engineer's lawsuit accusing the internet giant of harassing him and others over their conservative political views. Now, that to me does feel like more of an appropriate move forward for the lawsuit, because having the conservative views, especially in tech and in education, academia, entertainment, very much is under attack, right? I mean, like, honestly, people have a conservative opinion out there, and they're labeled like the worst things on the planet. Whereas, I mean, look at Gamergate, for example. Most Gamergaters are straight up liberal, flat out liberal. But anyone out there who's conservative in Gamergate was labeled as being horrifically terrible people, even if they weren't horrifically terrible people, of which there were a few. But that's the thing, is they attack you for that because you think differently than them. It's a different form of tribalism. It's all nonsense, right? You can't ask for equality and still hide behind a tribalistic label. It just doesn't work that way. In their mind, it does. And in their mind, they've gotten away with it because people won't stand up and say, no, stop it. You suck. It's the world we live in. Anyway, when he was dismissed in August, Damore accused Google of violating the employee right to engage in concerted activity to address workplace issues, a category which the Labor Board has found can include forms of activism ranging from lawsuits to strikes to social media posts. I can see his point for that. At the same time, like, I forget how the article got, or how the memo got moved out there. If it was him doing, I think he released it on his own, I think, right? So it also says that much of Damore's memo was probably protected under the law, the Labor Board's attorney, Jamie Sofier, said in the January 16th memo. But Sofier went on to find that Google discharged Damore only for his discriminatory statements, which aren't protected by labor law. So what you're saying is this guy released a memo, right? It blew up overnight. Like, it blew up overnight. We're talking a nationwide news, international news, everyone talking about this thing. You read through it, it's really not disruptive, right? It's really not as bad as she was trying to make it out to be before, the other person writing that memo. But they really framed it as such. It's the horrible, sexist Google memo. This thing is going to get somebody killed. Don't you know? Don't you know that words are going to get this person killed? Didn't look out that way, because it wasn't like full of, it wasn't like a manifesto where he's gonna like talk about going through the Google campus, and killing women because they shouldn't be there. Like, that is rhetoric that is not protected by the First Amendment, and that is calling on violence, therefore should not happen. But this guy's just like, well, the biological differences between men and women are kind of like this. That's it. His opinion. And they got him for discriminatory statements. Purposefully getting him for discriminatory statements because they knew that it's not protected by labor law. And that's just, it's crap, man. It's crap. Because companies have a duty to comply with equal employment laws and an interest in promoting diversity, employers must be permitted to nip in the bud the kinds of employee conduct that could lead to a hostile workplace, rather than waiting until an actionable hostile workplace has been created before taking action. So basically, if you hurt my fifis, you're gone. If you hurt anyone else's fifis, you're gone. If you say anything that this doesn't go along with the narrative that we've been spinning for a while, you're gone. If you think differently, you're gone. Meaning, if you ever worked for Apple and now come to work for Google, you're automatically gone. That's like the stupidest thing on the planet. That particular statement is so freaking embedded and just dripping with social justice warrior nonsense. It is hard to not want to punch my screen when I read that. The fact that somebody wrote that, and that is in fact a reason to deny him a claim for being fired, a discrimination case, is just, it's insane. Saying they have the right to nip it in the bud. So we live in California is an at-will employment state, obviously. And this is how they're trying to get him. It's like, is it discriminatory comments, or was he trying to lead some kind of Hunger Games revolution against the Capitol, right? Is Alphabet now basically the Capitol, and whoever the hell runs Alphabet is freaking President Snow, and James Damore is like a young plucky Katniss Everdeen with a memo that shoots, I don't know. It's the dumbest thing ever. It's just the dumbest thing ever. Now, the company carefully tailored its message in firing Damore and in addressing employees afterward to affirm their right to engage in protected speech while prohibiting discrimination or harassment. But what did he specifically state that's discrimination or harassment? Having an opinion about the biological differences between men and women is not discrimination or harassment. He wasn't in a position to hire anybody. He wasn't in a position to fire anybody. He wasn't in a position to make any kind of changes to the company. It was simply his opinion. And you're telling me that is bad. You're telling me that is wrong. You're telling me that is, creating discrimination and harassment. Or the people who claim to have been discriminated and harassed against because of this memo were just offended on their own right. And apparently that was enough to cost the man his career. Right? Why not use it again as a teachable moment to sit there and go, look, we as a company don't approve of what you say. All right. But you didn't say anything that was like calling for violence, so we can't get you on that. But why don't we use this as a moment to have a discussion about maybe why you think this way? And maybe why other people talked to James and said, this is what you want to do. It wasn't like he just released the memo willy-nilly. People told him to release the memo, if I recall correctly. So it says, Google also disciplined one of Damore's coworkers for sending him a threatening email in response to the memo. Oh, so a person who actually did send harassing emails, right, to him. They were just disciplined. But a guy who, just spoke his opinion was fired, right? Yeah. Google declined to comment on Sophia's memo. Damore's attorney didn't immediately respond to a request for comment. The Labor Board's conclusion is consistent with board precedent for decades, which is viewed speech, which it creates a hostile environment likely to produce both discord and divisiveness as unprotected, says William Gould IV, who chaired the board under President Bill Clinton. So what you're saying here essentially is, you said something I don't like. You said something, and the guy lost his job. Now, it goes on to say that in the course of protesting working conditions that can be, you can be profane and aggressive and unpleasant. You can be militant and it's still protected, Gould said. However, he said what separates this is the derisiveness and stereotypical characterization of one gender. But if he's talking about actual biology, which is from what I recall, it's been a while since I've read it, but that's what he was referring to. That's not really like attacking one. But we live in this age now where your gender means everything and also means nothing at the same time. It's a very weird space to be. But ultimately, this was really just, really just dumb. And we'll have to wait and see what happens. If he loses a lawsuit, Damore has become such a name on the internet, especially in, I would argue, in conservative circles, given everything that's happened, he could probably find work. I think WikiLeaks reached out to him. He probably started Patreon or something. I mean, look, here's the thing. Is right now Damore is on a speaking tour, or at least I know he's speaking tomorrow night in Portland, Oregon, and I'll be there. And Antifa has threatened to show up. Antifa has threatened to protest. Other school groups have threatened to protest. And I'm going. And so this video will be up as a standalone on the channel well before the event begins. And so if you're curious, check back because you might see some fun stuff coming out of a live stream from there. And the point of me going to this is because I do want to hear what this guy has to say. I want to see if this dude who looks literally like 90 pounds soaking wet is as much of a threat to women in tech as they made him out to be. They made this guy out to be like, not like the Hitler, but like clearly a Lenin. In terms of how this whole thing went down. So watching it play out like that's going to be interesting. Watching the response from people on scene is going to be interesting. And I'll be there to cover it all and bring you guys the truth of what's going on at Portland State in regards to James Damore, who is currently fighting Google over, well, a really crappy situation that they could have used as a teachable moment and instead chose to play the social progressive card, which hopefully won't work out for them in the future. Just saying. No, I'll get video. Yeah. I'll be bringing my my DJI Osmo so they get like steady handheld footage from my phone. So yeah, that'll be good. No, I'm currently talking with somebody to come down there to come with me, who effectively would be was a very very big on the Second Amendment, if you know what I mean. So I don't plan on getting involved in anything. I don't plan on like going out there going like, you fucking commie fucks. I'm an observe and report kind of guy. So, oh, Jim, you saw Justice League and you liked it? Good, man. Good. I liked it. I like Justice League a lot. I mean, it wasn't the wasn't like my favorite movie. So, all right, where's, let me bring this over here. Cool beans. Okay, so I got one more to do. Try to wrap this up within 2 hours. I've been pushing these things a little longer, whatever, than usual. So where's the lesson here? So this one will probably catch me some crap, but it's a good summation of everything, and it's Snopes. Because I do want to talk about the Black Panther situation, because I've been really frustrated reading up on the whole Black Panther nonsense and trolls trying to act like there's violence and shit. So I do want to talk about that. So, all right. Snaps for traps, guys. Snaps for treasure traps. All right. Hey, still 238 people watching. Fantastic. Gary, hey, wait, hold on, real quick. Okay, we're 107 likes. That's good. That's good. I like the likes. Let's do more of that, though. Snap it up. So Black Panther opened this weekend, and it's looking to pull in like $200 million domestic. I saw the movie last night. I really liked it. I'm rocking my Black Panther shirt right now. The movie is good. It's good. A lot of people are trying to argue the politics of it as a way of further pushing the divisive nature of the film. This movie is not Ghostbusters 2016. The cast and the crew didn't come out and say that if you don't like this, you racist, just like they did with Ghostbusters saying that you're sexist. But that's not stopping people on the internet from actually trying to create this false narrative that black people are creating violence at screenings of Black Panther in order to scare white folk off. Now, one of the reasons why this is happening is because we saw a lot of posts, and I don't know how many of these are true. There are many of them said in jest that were screen capped and circulated around Twitter and other social media that said that Black Panther is for black people only and white people need to fuck off. And this is probably in response to that, but I still want to talk about it because I do feel that it is a thing that needs to be addressed. So it says, are white people being assaulted at showings of Black Panther? Online trolls tried to push claims of violence, but were quickly foiled by others on social media. And this is one thing I love about when social media comes together. You can easily and very succinctly call out bullshit. It's not that difficult to catch anymore. And of course, the answer here is false. So it says, as the film Black Panther opened in the US in February 2018, some social media users attempted to put a damper on the occasion by posting fake accounts of anti-white attacks only to be foiled by other users' photo sleuthing skills. And that's the thing. We've seen this kind of crap happen before. Oftentimes it originates from 4chan. They want to do this as a prank to see who would buy into it. And there have been times. There was one a couple years ago now called Pissing for Feminism, hashtag Pissing for Feminism, which was created on 4chan, which was created for the sole intent of trying to get feminists to pee their pants in solidarity with women who have been sexually assaulted and who are unable to control their bladder during the incident. And it was a good troll, so much so that it actually tricked Paul Joseph Watson of InfoWars into writing an article about it, saying that it was a troll that was real. Even though, that it really trolled people into doing it, never mind the fact that all the footage that he used, all the tweets that he used were all from sock puppet accounts that were the ones trying to propagate the lie, which never actually took off. I always find that to be kind of funny when talking about how this kind of social activism through social media is oftentimes bullshit, and you should really try to trace it back to the source as best as you can. Just an example. So it says here that one photo posted on Twitter reportedly generated around 400 retweets before being debunked. The image showed a towel soaked in blood over a sink alongside the caption, "Was at the Black Panther premiere, but a group of black youth said this movie wasn't for me. I am white. They then proceeded to assault me. I'm heading to the ER now." Now, at first glance, you're going to think of this, oh my God, is this person okay? Because even though we know people lie on the internet, I think our first instinct is that it's true. Like when I was swatted a couple years ago, almost 2 years ago now, I talked about it and people were like, not true, fake news, not real, until I posted audio of the police pounding on my window and then audio of them coming and looking through my house. And they're like, oh shit, never mind the fact the news report, the police report, and other things came out as well. So yeah, people will question it sometimes, even though some more salacious things, maybe not. This one, though, was not 400 retweets. Why? Because trying to look at it as being a real thing is so much harder than just hitting retweet, because it backs a certain narrative. And again, that type of narrative has been one that's been propagated by the left, pushing these posts out there trying to say that Black Panther is for white people only, or Black Panther is the first superhero movie with a black lead. Right? Because everyone all of a sudden forgets Blade was a thing from 1998 to 2004. I mean, like, okay, you know, so it's a lot of nonsense that goes into it here. But other users quickly noticed that the picture was actually posted on the photo sharing site Flickr in 2009. Twitter also suspended, and okay, by the way, I should point out here, reverse Google image search is a great thing. Because most people just go to Google, type in something, grab the first image that they can. It has the data attributed to it that they're able to then do a reverse Google image search and usually find out stuff is BS, you know. And so that's how they did that. Twitter suspended the account behind that fake post, as well as the one that attempted to pass off a picture of a 19-year-old Swedish woman's bloodied face. She was actually attacked at a bar in Malmo, despite fake claims that the photo was taken after an assault connected to the film. Saying here, I went to see Black Panther with my girlfriend, and a black teenager shouted, "You at the wrong theater," and smashed a bottle in her face. And again, trying to keep this kind of stuff going. This is the shit posting that happens on Twitter that's meant to be caught up in it and meant to blow up big in order to once again kind of cause a civil war for discussions. Another user attempted to pass himself off as a 23-year-old Michael Voller, who was hit in the face in London in May 2017 in an attack that was reportedly precipitated by anger over the results of the FA Cup soccer semi-match final, saying here, "They threw me out of the theater and said it wasn't my movie. I don't have insurance and I can't see hashtag Black Panther." But yet, even just looking at the Twitter avatar here for DSA Wyatt and this guy, they look nothing alike. So, you know, easy to see through that troll. Now, there's no indication that these posts are coordinated, but another social media user passing themselves off as the victim of assault, this one using a photo taken from a British makeup artist's portfolio, showed off their work on a message board in 4chan. But come on, the name Mort Sheckelstein with the freaking Pepe. I mean, like, this is the thing. Like, this is where maybe I spend so much time looking at this kind of crap. Maybe I spend so much time talking about this kind of crap that when, I mean, I see a Pepe now, I'm like, automatically this person is trolling, you know, and fine. I'm fine with that. I just, then I see people taking it as real and I'm like, how do you not know? And then I realize also that there are people out there that don't spend their entire life ingrained in internet culture, spending time on Reddit and 4chan and Twitter and Facebook and freaking Discord and everything else, that aren't like you or I watching at home right now. And as a result of this, it just slips through the cracks. So it says here, I was at the Black Panther opening and insulted by two black teens. They told me that the movie wasn't for my kind and proceeded to punch me repeatedly to the point of where I developed a black eye. I'm currently on the phone with law enforcement now. That's a little bit too like wordy for approach. Like they were punched me repeatedly to the point of where I developed a black eye. Sounds like he's British just trying to read it out loud. Despite these types of smear attempts, reports estimate that Black Panther is on track to earn between $200 million and $205 million at the box office this opening weekend. And that's the thing. That's true. People, this movie is drawing out a lot of people. It's a good freaking movie. It's a lot of fun, but people out there really, really, really want to make it about race or make it about racism or make it all this crap that it's not. And that's as a movie fan, as an MCU fan, as a person who does try to push more optimism and hope, arguably than anything else, it gets frustrating because it's like, it is in some cases getting harder and harder and harder to see past the crap because there is so much of it out there. And a lot of the posts, a lot of these good jokey posts, these shit posts, these troll jobs, they know how to pull on certain heartstrings and they know how to make it look real enough in order to get the desired response. And part of me applauds them, believe it or not, applauds them, because I look at that as being like, that's a masterful troll job. You, sir, you did well. And you took a lot of people. But at the same time, I get frustrated because I'm like, this is more fake news, right? But then, you know, what's that quote from Mark Twain? A lie is halfway around the world before the truth has a chance to put on its pants or something. I'm paraphrasing, but that's clearly kind of the idea there. And you've got people out there arguing for, you know, the truth and trying to get it and wanting to feel like they're getting told things are true. But at the same time, it's the internet, and anything and everything you should see on the internet should be treated with a grain of salt, right? Everything, which is why even when I mentioned my swatting earlier, I understand when people were apprehensive. Am I lying? It's a possibility. All right. But the police report, the news report validate what I'm trying to say. But I think we intrinsically want to believe what we see. And when it comes to something that's as heavily talked about as Black Panther and the subject of race, or Ghostbusters and the subject of sex and gender and how all these things play together, there are people out there that are perpetually offended. And those are generally the left. Let's be fair. Those are generally the left. They can't take the joke. They always get caught up in it. They always buy it as real. And when that happens, the people on the right, the shit posters, they know how to get to them and how to get underneath their skin, because it's ultimately an art form. Let's be fair. It's a damn art form. And when they do this, it just perpetuates the cycle all over again. So then idiots like me have to come out, make a video saying this isn't true, this isn't real. Sorry, Paul Joseph Watson, pissing for feminism took you for a run just like it did everybody else. You thought you were being smarmy about it, but really you were taken too. Hashtag fake news. Ha ha. I'm not a PJW fan. So there's that. I mean, we all can be taken by it. I guess the idea ultimately is let's be a bit more skeptical in the future, right? Right? Don't listen in belief. That's an Anita Sarkeesian thing. Trust but verify. Be skeptical. And remember that the skeptic community usually is, I can't even say that with a straight face, but just be skeptical and it will serve you better in the long run. Yes, the troll job about the Florida shooter being white supremacist was very much a good one. I will gladly agree with that. That was a good troll job. That took a lot of people. And so there's definitely that. I completely agree. So what am I getting? Emails here. Xbox is emailing me saying like, come on. Okay, so we are done with the 5 stories. How many people we got right now? We got 252. Fuck yeah. So I'll answer some questions for a few because I'm now done. All I have to do at this point now is just set up my export for everything. That's it, man. That's all I gotta do. I can set up my export. I can go and take care of my daughter in 20-30 minutes and go out from there. So and then of course, if you came in late or came in right now or just whatever, these videos will all be up tomorrow. So there's definitely that. So the skeptic community ain't skeptics anymore. Skeptics question everything to find the way. You wonder when Nick's motive will come out because we actually have him alive. I don't know, man. I am very curious to see what his motive is. Whatever Nicholas Cruz's motive is, I'm very curious to see, because that's going to be one of those things where you're like, holy shit, this is going to be, weird and crazy, and super fucking sad once we learn the full details. I mean, the event in Florida was just fucking horrific. It was just fucking horrific as shit, and I feel horrible, like, as I during all this stuff, my girlfriend and I were watching the news coverage of it, and we're looking at our daughter, and she's 11 weeks old. So still a far cry away from going to school, but there's a fear there, like, what do you do? And we're both in agreement. We want her to take, defense classes. Now, like, taking Taekwondo or Kung Fu or whatever is not going to stop a bullet, but, it gives her a better shot at defending herself if anyone attacks her. I have a friend of mine who's in her 20s right now, and she is not the person you would think would be a black belt in Kung Fu. Oh, but she's a black belt in Kung Fu, and as a result of that, she'll fuck your day up. She's never had to specifically, but she has sparred people that I've watched at work, thinking that she's a girl and she can't spar, and she will whoop their ass. So yeah. The Straight Dope better than Snopes. I haven't heard of that one, but Snopes isn't all bad. I like Snopes. So you think they should throw Nick in prison for life so he can be studied? Yeah, I think so too. I'm surprised he didn't kill himself. Like, that's the thing. He tried sneaking out. He snuck out of the whole process. They caught him miles away at his home or by his home or something. But he got out in the commotion, blending in as a student. And did he think he was just going to get away? Like, no, there's no security cameras. Like, that's the thing. I mean, that would have been the scarier thing. If he would have gone in and done that and there wouldn't have been cameras and nobody would have caught him and he just snuck out with the crowd and everything else. Like, that would have been the scariest fucking thing ever, because this guy would still be out there. I mean, Florida would be on like it would be martial law right now in Florida if that was the thing. What am I going to show? Which MCU movie I'm going to show Madison first? Iron Man. Straight up, dude. Fucking love me some Iron Man. I'll show it kind of like I'd show it to her like in order, even with the Star Wars, you know, like I mean, I don't know. I was debating on showing her episode 1, 2, 3, and then going on from there when she gets old enough, and then kind of just getting the prequels out of the way first. Right. But then I'm also a little bit afraid that like she'll see the prequels first. And because she saw the prequels first, then that nostalgia factor kicks in. And when that nostalgia factor kicks in, you're kind of going to lose her, you know? So, what is the bigger picture in life? In other words, what is the goal for humans as a species? To leave the planet, colonize elsewhere. I think we're like anything else. We don't ultimately have a goal. We, you know, like rabbits, they fuck, they breed, they eat, they grow, they migrate, they move on. Same process. Just we just have cognitive thought, the ability to create and expand. You know, I mean, like we caught that bit on the evolutionary chain. I don't think there's any specific thing we're supposed to do, right? I mean, like we have 24-hour drive-through and online HD porn. I think we've kind of hit the apex of our species. When am I going to do a face reveal? I don't know, man. Eventually. If Cruz is going to kill himself, Nick Cruz, he would have done it there. You know, he would have done it there. So, Leo the Alien, I don't even know about the Titans TV show yet. I haven't looked into it at all, so I don't know. I haven't seen Black Lightning or anything else either. So I have no idea what's going on with that. Okay, So Iron Man, yeah, Iron Man was great. Started it all. That's right. Isn't it weird to think we're 10 years in and we're almost 19 movies into it? 19 movies in 10 years. By the end of their 10-year run, they'll be at 20 movies. I mean, averaging 2 a year. The only year there wasn't a movie from the MCU was 2009. There wasn't a movie. When is Mac to take off the skull and reveal the skull underneath? Like at 1 million subscribers. Should Nick Cruz get the death penalty? I've actually moved on from the death penalty. I used to think it was a good idea. It's just too costly for the state. I mean, with Nick Cruz, if you have video of him doing it, then take him out back, put a bullet in his head, right? Or not in his head, put a bullet in his heart, study his brain. But you know, otherwise, it costs millions and millions and millions of taxpayer dollars to put somebody on death row, and we've gotten it wrong. We've gotten it wrong. So I think death row, when it's like beyond like, you know, video footage of them doing it, should probably be taken away. So 18 gunshots on school campuses this year so far. Yeah, there's been a lot. There's been a few of them. I think Ben Shapiro like debunked a bit of that, but I haven't fully looked at it yet. So 2009 was when Disney acquired Marvel. No, it was 2010 when Disney acquired Marvel, and 2012 when Disney acquired Lucasfilm. No, Iron Man 2, Brad Hominem, was not a bad movie. I like Iron Man 2. Sam Rockwell was great as Justin Hammer. I wish they'd bring him back for something. show Madison the original trilogy first, and the prequel trilogy. Yeah, that's a good idea. We need to fast track to put people down who need to be put down. The problem with that though is that if you get on death row, you're automatically you're like an appeal is automatically filed on your behalf, and there's tons of appeals. It takes years, right? Like it takes fucking years for death row inmates to be actually executed by the state. I think maybe outside of Texas. So you skip? Nah, don't skip the Hulk movie. Hulk movie was good. Thoughts on gun control? Use both hands. Yeah, just use both hands. That's how you do it, man. Iron Man 2 works a lot better when you have the Avengers to justify the heavy-handed buildup. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'm gonna go through all of the Iron Man, all of the Marvel movies, leading into Avengers: Infinity War. I just don't know when I'm gonna do it. Come on. Well, the thing is, Stacy, you have to have that. You have to have that. That confirmation that they are the ones who in fact did it, right? Like, I mean, watch the fucking footage, you know, of something. Like, that's the only way. Otherwise, you know, or the DNA can be wrong. It's hard. Gun control is hitting your targets. That's pretty fucking funny. You know, one of the biggest... All right, that works. So, yeah, it's just... Oh, there's so much craziness out there right now. How many end credit sequences are in their Black Panther? There's two. There's two, and like they're not like the best thing ever. I expected more, to be honest with you. I mean, they're both good, don't get me wrong. Like, they're cool, but it's kind of like Thor Ragnarok's like end credit sequence, where just kind of like the first one set up Avengers: Infinity War, and the second one didn't. The second one was just like funnier shit with the Grandmaster, which was fine. This one was man, I can't even like freaking remember what the first one was. The second one though was good. You know, micromanagement out the ass. Kind of, but what was the first one? I don't remember. That's sad that I don't remember, actually. You figure I would. I just saw it last night, but I was pretty tired last night after seeing the movie. I came home, I passed out for like fucking 10 hours and shit. My girlfriend, thankfully, is let me get a lot of sleep today, which is fantastic. So, Black Panther, a movie with a higher budget but shittier CG than Deadpool. Dude, the CG was insane. Deadpool's CG was still pretty, like, you know, Tim Miller owned the production house that did that, so they kept it very, you know, they shot very strategically to maximize it, the maximum for that shit. Uganda will prevail. They must. Stan Lee's appearance in Black Panther was pretty good. You want to see more Hulk standalone features? Oh, dude, we all do. But the problem with it is, though, is Universal has the rights. And Universal is not giving those things up. Not at all, man. They pretty much already said so, too. That's why Thor Ragnarok was all about the... you know, like Planet Hulk, but kind of not really. You know, so that's the downside to it. Stupid IP law or contracts. So I'm hoping that I'm hoping that Marvel, you know, basically buys back. I'm hoping they buy back Hulk. They, you know, but at the same time, they're probably not worried about that. Like, yeah, we got Spider-Man, we're good. You know, like we got Spider-Man. Like one of my favorite comments from last night, because my dad had watched Civil War before watching Black Panther, and he was all like, he's like, where was the Hulk? I'm all like, you haven't seen Ragnarok, have you? You got to watch that. I feel like I have to like explain to my dad, you know, these movies and shit. I sometimes wonder if my daughter will do that to me, you know? Oh man, Star Wars: The Last Jedi. I really wonder if she will eventually end up like having to go, Dad, do you know about this movie? Or Dad, have you seen this thing? The day that I'm not up to date on what's coming out in theaters is the day I will probably just commit seppuku with the Frisbee. Like, I'm fucking done. Super unfortunate. I'm just done, you know, like, because this is lame. Like, I know everything going on in movies right now, blah, 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 blah. But it's one day going to happen. I'm going to forget a lot of shit probably as I get older. And that's going to suck. Because getting older sucks, right? I turned 36 in a month and 10 days. So that's going to happen to me. I turned 36 on March 26th, man. I am like, holy crap, when did I get to be that old? Won't work out for them in the future. Like, right, when did I get to be that fucking old? And then it's like, well, you're born in 82, so you're pretty much that fucking old. So, do I think we'll see a Namor movie in the future? It depends on Aquaman. If Aquaman does good, then yes, at some point we'll see Namor. But if Aquaman does not do good, we will never see Namor. I'm going to get that 3D printed too, probably. Yeah, I'll get that 3D printed. You know that video got completely demonetized? Same with the Iceland circumcision video, right? Like, you talk about circumcision. I can talk about murder on fucking YouTube. Not a problem. I talk about why it's a good idea to ban circumcision, and then it's like, you can't monetize this video. I actually got an email today from some guy who was checking out that video, and he was like, this is weird. He watched it, and he's like, you made really good points, and I liked what you had to say, so I was very much like anti-circumcision. And then like he talked to his wife, and then he was all like, but no, wait, as a parent, I have the ability to chip off the tip of my baby's dick. So that gives me the right to do it. And I'm all like, just because you have the right now doesn't mean you have the intrinsic right overall, you know? And that was his argument for trying to like sway me back to that side. Like, I'm not going to fucking do that. So, yes, I just had my first kid at the age of 35. That happened. I know. Tell me about it, man. Fucking tell me about it, man. It's crazy shit. I got a kid, and she's so adorable too. She is so adorbs. So Black Panther opened this weekend. All right, and that one's not going to be 10 minutes long. I'm currently just going through and cutting down the video clips so they can be exported for their own video tomorrow. But just that's the serve you better in the long run. That's the best part about it. Oh shit. Is this the JJ one? Nope. Shit, I gotta go back to this one. Okay. So I just remembered I fucked up something that I gotta go back and fix. Because this is how it works. I do this shit live, motherfucker. Oops. But yeah, I think it's I think, you know, first kid I know of. No, it's my first kid. It's my first kid. You know, have I seen Firefly? Declan, yeah, I saw Firefly, man. I saw Firefly when it came out, when Fox aired it out of order. Didn't super care for it back then. Really liked Serenity, though. I thought the movie was good. I thought the movie was pretty damn solid. Okay. Go back to that one. And all right, so what we're at 2 hours now. I'm gonna wrap this thing up because I gotta go. I gotta use the bathroom and check on the kid. So I'll be back. So for those of you who are frequent viewers of my live streams, I should probably let you guys know things are going to change. So right now, the way that things are working is neither my girlfriend or I are getting a lot of sleep because of the newborn. So I have made the decision to where I'm going to start going to bed around probably 5 or 6 p.m. in the evening, and then waking up around midnight or 1 a.m. in order to then take care of the baby and let my girlfriend get her sleep, and then that will be my new schedule. So we're going to start that this week. It's going to suck. It's going to suck hard. The adjustment's going to be crappy. But this is the best way both of us are able to get sleep. That way I'm able to continue making content, not getting run down as easily as I am, and not being as fucking exhausted as I am. And I am always exhausted. So the streams will still happen, but they're going to happen earlier in the day. I'm not too sure if that means a morning stream, like a 6 a.m. stream or something, where I run for 2 hours, go through the daily videos, and release the content later on. Same with $3 Theater. $3 Theater will probably still be around the same time. But the Rustl'd stream is going to change its time. I just don't quite know when. I could run it at around, 2 o'clock in the morning, But a lot of people who are, in the United States, which is the predominant audience, is not going to be around for that. So that is where things are going to go. It's not the best thing in the world. I'd love it to be, I'd love to not have to do it. I like doing it around, 9 p.m. at night, 9:30 at night. But that's just where things are, because, I'm just exhausted. I'm just tired, easily irritable, and that's coming through on Twitter, which it shouldn't. So that's that. So if you guys, don't see it at the right times, I'm sorry. That's just kind of where things are. And, we'll definitely go from there. But when things get situated, we'll probably go back to a normal time. But even then, I still want to aim it for around like 8 o'clock at night, just to kind of do it for an hour and a half, 2 hours, be done with it, and not, and get it more on a schedule. Because if it's on a schedule and I'm on a schedule, we're gravy. When it's not on a schedule, it's kind of random, it throws me off. And then like I go 2 days without posting any content because I'm just too fucking exhausted because I've been trying to work it all out. So yeah, we'll figure it out, but that's what's going on. Here's the thing though too. Discord is a really, really, really good way to get in contact with me. I check that all the time. The Discord link is in the video description, and it's, again, the best way to get in contact, and that could be your best way of reaching to me if you want, and then knowing when things are going to happen. So definitely come on in to the chat and hang out. A lot of good people in there. And okay, there we go on that one. But anyway, I'm gonna fuck off. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you very much for hanging out with me tonight. Have yourself a great day. Keep an eye on the channel tomorrow for a live stream if crazy shit goes down at James Damore. And have a good one.